This meeting to order then. Historical Review Board, April 28th, 2009. Present are
Cynthia Toll.
Todd Iceland. Mr. McLaughlin just walked in.
John McLaughlin. Vicki Yates.
and Ken Basinger. And I now turn over the meeting to the chairman.
That's me. Welcome. Well, there's lots on the docket tonight, so we'll be thorough and expeditious, I guess. So, I guess we're going to start with a presentation from John Cavalich. Okay. So it would be EC Consulting Engineers regarding the I-205 Redland Road crossing. Okay, come on up. Come on. Oh, can you grab a chair and sit down if you'd like, or whatever you want? Turn that on, and so we can hear you.
It is on.
Is it on? And then just speak into it.
Stay on.
I'll do it this way. I'm going to give you a brief overview of our project, Oregon 213, I-205 to Redland Road overcrossing in Oregon City. And in an aerial view, this is the limits of the entire project. And next slide. Our project is broken into 3 units, and the first unit is the one that will go into construction first, and it's the construction of a new jug handle interchange here on Oregon 213. Next slide, please. So taking a look at some of the more significant pieces of this project, there's a new road connection here on Washington Street to Clackamas River Drive. There's a new signal. There's reconfiguration of the existing intersection. And there's an underpass under the Oregon 213, a new bridge to be constructed. And then there's some striping work and a median being placed. And there's also a potential roundabout intersection here, or T-intersection. It's still under development right now. Next slide, please. Unit 2 has to do with Redlands Road, Oregon 213 intersection. And if you can go to the next slide. And then Unit 3, which is a much further down the road future project, would be potential widening of the existing railroad structure. And this is I-205 here. And you can see the railroad is in here. Right there is the existing railroad and railroad structure. So Unit 3 is really something that's much further down the road. ODOT does not know what it wants to do with I-205 and their bridge, so that would be a trigger for figuring out what would be done in Unit 3. So next slide. So taking a look at historic resources as we know them, there's really 2 categories of historic resources at the beginning of a project. There's known properties and known resources, and then there's unknown. And so we look initially at the known resources, and we have the Hiram Strait House, which is up here, and then we have the John Strait House here, and then we have the Hiram Strait Cemetery. And so looking at our project, what I've shown here is the T-intersection option and how the improvement would tie into Clackamas River Drive. And you can see we tie into the existing right-of-way. Next slide, please. Just to show you the roundabout option in schematic form. This is essentially what it would look like, but the important thing is that once again we tie into the existing right-of-way right about at the Hiram Strait House. So if we could have next slide. Taking a little closer look at this, you can see the resources, and we've overlaid both of our options. And then if you just look at this curb line, you can see that we're matching in. And so in this area here, our strategy is going to be avoidance. And so taking a look at the existing fence line and where our sidewalk needs to go, we're going to make adjustments to our design to avoid that resource. Next slide. In terms of our process, we've brought Heritage Research Associates on the team to handle our historic and archaeological resources work. And Heritage is a firm that we've worked with for many, many years, and they've done hundreds of projects in the federal aid program. They're very well versed in archaeological and historic resources. So the first activities for them will be the archaeological resource literature search and pedestrian survey, and then they'll do a phase 1 historic resource literature search and pedestrian survey. And so this really addresses the unknown. We have some known resources, and this is to confirm that there are not other resources within the project limits that could be impacted. And it's purely doing due diligence to make sure we don't run into those issues as we go down the project. Preparing a baseline study. Once they do these phase 1 pedestrian surveys and literature researches, they'll put a study together. As I mentioned, we have 3 potential historical resources: the Hiram Strait House, John Strait House, and Hiram Strait Cemetery. And the first step will be to work with ODOT cultural staff to determine if a Section 106 determination of eligibility, a DOE, is required. And then the next step will be a finding of effect. And obviously our goal would be, if there were a determination of eligibility required, our goal is to have a finding of no effect on that. The Hiram Strait House is really the only property with the potential to have an impact. There's a conflict there with the sidewalk, and as I mentioned, our strategy is to avoid it, and therefore, avoiding the impact altogether. So in brief, that's what we're doing.
I've got one question. Is there any right-of-way acquisition proposed as part of this?
For those properties, and I think Alita can correct me if I'm wrong, we have right-of-way on the project, but we do not intend to have a right-of-way impact to those properties.
Is the highway that you're building, is it going to be elevated in any way? I mean, is it going to be higher than it is now?
What we're doing on that is we're matching existing grade. So we're not going to touch the grade of Oregon 213, and we're going to handle grade by lowering the new underpass to get the right clearance.
Because from 205, you can clearly see the Hiram Strait House, and I just wanted to know if you were still going to be able to do that.
You will,
Okay.
yes.
When's this slated? When's the plan for this? I mean, what's the master?
Our current plan at the present time is to have this shovel ready by January of 2010. So that means by
Pretty quick.
this December, we would have it out to bid.
So the goal is no stoplights, make it smooth, easy, minimal impact.
There isn't any stuff like
There are
that.
Well,
On Oregon 213,
yeah, coming around, but this thing's going to be moving a little better.
the major element on 213 is that we're adding lanes for capacity, and we're putting a median in
Yeah.
to keep those cross movements
Sure.
from occurring.
So in that area where the homes are you guys ripping out sidewalk, putting everything new? Or what are you doing as far as impact with anything abutting the property?
Yeah, in those areas, we're a ways away from the existing, and you can see from those diagrams
Yeah.
that I had where we sweep in. And we will match into the existing pavement
Gotcha.
to the extent that we can. And we may pull the project limits back to avoid the Hiram Strait House.
Thanks.
So
And
this is just an informational presentation?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
We're just learning.
Okay. Well,
Cool.
I appreciate you coming in early.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
you're welcome.
And thanks for making it succinct. Well, thank you. That's kind of exciting, but more exciting when it's done. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Do I have? Okay. We're going to start with competitive preservation grants. We'll start with 09-06, 210 Jefferson. So, who is that? You guys? I'm sorry. Maybe you should bring some chairs and sit down. And this is for removal of aluminum and brick veneer siding, painting.
Hello.
Would you go ahead and state your name and your address and give us a little
Okay.
intro to what you want to do?
Karen and Robert Grondin, and our address is 210 Jefferson Street in McLaughlin neighborhood. And our intention is to bring ourselves back into the ability to be on the, just
Yeah, stick it in the middle or something.
right there, better?
Yeah.
Okay. To put our home back on the historic register, it hasn't been on there because, well, since we've been there 26 years, and since we've owned it, it's always been covered with an aluminum siding, and the front was altered to have a brick veneer to the face of it. So our intention is, we just completed the garage with a bonus studio above it, and that phase is done, and so in order to take it to the next level, and also so that we can match the historic siding that's now on the, or the proper siding that's on the garage and studio, bring our house back to that standard. So that's what our application is for. I know presently we're not designated, so this is kind of a first step to get back on the designation. And we don't know what's underneath the aluminum. We do know it's lap siding, just like what we put on the garage, but we don't know the condition. It was that way when we bought it. And so our grant is for not just removal, but probably for prep work and cleanup to get it so we can properly paint it and match it to the existing garage now. So we're kind of doing things in reverse.
It's a cool garage.
Yeah, and I brought you in we brought in extra pictures so that you can see the final product.
Oh, great. Can we see him?
Sure.
And this, the Grondins are an example of Ms. Oshiro's issue, though I think we have a definite different applicant in the sense that they really do want to get designated. So with the conditional approval tonight, we'll bring back the Grondins next month for a designation hearing for their house. And I've been working with the Grondins on that application.
Was it designated before?
No, it was never designated. In the 2002 inventory, it is not contributing in current state, and the removal of the brick veneer and aluminum will go a long way to bringing it into contributing status. And I think this is actually, to me, so far, the showcase of what a preservation grant program can do.
Right.
Is it can help bring a structure into contributing status and designate it. So I'm pretty excited about this application.
Getting rid of that brick veneer would be fantastic.
Because it wasn't contributor, they still had to have approval for the garage, whenever that was?
Because it was new
Because it's in the-
construction.
In the, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it was over 200 square feet, new construction in the
Gotcha.
historic district. And so tonight really is just a preliminary conditional vote, but it won't be the final vote.
A polite cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
And we, our intentions are not to really start this project until July. So we're fine with having to, stretch it out over a couple months. We
Though-
want to wait till the warmer weather before we paint.
Though I did have a comment in my staff report that the applicants only provided one bid, and while I understand their reason, I think before this is final, they still need to provide a secondary bid.
And I'm working on it.
Okay.
In the 26 years you've been there, you've never once taken that siding off to see what's there?
We matched, the garage matches the existing siding,
You
but we didn't want to go up any further.
You took a section off, found what was
Right,
there,
And we matched what was there.
and what you actually have on your house is lap?
It's 4,
It's a 4-inch reveal lap
Yeah.
siding, so I think it's 6-inch. After watching how they did the garage, it's actually a 6-inch, and they they cover up 2 inches and lap.
You know what I'm talking about.
And it's smooth.
Drop.
It's not a texture. It's smooth lap.
Smooth.
It's not asbestos.
1930s.
Yeah. Not
What
20s.
they did is, when we first,
Get
the previous owner
teens.
drilled holes in every cavity and blew in insulation, so we know there's going to be some patching of at least 1 inch or 1.25 inch holes on every section of the study where he blew in the insulation.
That's probably.
Are you going to
further.
have to take that out and put insulation? Are you
No,
going to leave
what
it in
we've
there?
done, like when we had permits pulled for the bathroom, that we had to pull all that out and then re-insulate all the way up into the master bedroom, which is on the top.
Well,
We're not touching the other stuff.
anything to take off aluminum siding is sweet. So.
And
Well,
it's a
and
lot
the
of
brick,
work.
too.
So
And the brick, yeah. It's a cool house. It's, yeah. It's,
I'm excited. I'm hoping there'll be something. We don't know what's underneath, and we're also not sure if there's lead-based paint, which very possibly could be on the original. We do know the aluminum siding was
you
put
can
on
guarantee
in
it.
put on in the 70s. So
Yeah.
the painter has put in the first bid that we got has put in a lotting for the fact that there might be lead-based paint because there's a whole different process they have to use to environmental impact. So that costs more. So
And you guys are looking for, is it 3,000? Yeah,
That's
3,000 max.
Yeah.
50.
Max, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
maximum
and they're
grant.
exceeding that with their expenditures. So
Yeah.
I think
Well,
this is
I
a
hope you
positive
find a
measure.
lot of money and
and no skeletons.
No, I think it's great. Does anybody have any comments or?
no, I'm all for it. I think it's very good.
I
And what do you
guess we
think
don't
of the
need to make
garage
a-
now that you see the pictures?
Looks great.
Do we need to make a motion?
Tall. Did you have to get a variance?
Yes.
A couple, I think.
We could do a blanket one at the end of the night.
And you're more than welcome to come by and take a look at it.
Yeah. Is there a living quarters on top?
No, it's an art studio.
It's a cool building.
Yeah, my art studio.
It's really cool.
Waited 25 years.
I think, Ken, anything? No?
I like it.
I don't know that we,
We don't need a formal motion.
no, I think we can just say, okay,
Please proceed.
All right.
go for it. Thank you very much.
Time.
Christine, I'll have a bid to you in another week.
Okay, that's fine. This is before the final approval.
Okay.
And then you'll want to call me soon to get the application paid for.
Okay.
Don't
Thank
forget
you.
your photos.
Oh, I was going to do them.
They're good pictures. That's what I want. I don't know who's here. Okay, our next item is for Preservation Grant 09-09. It's 406 Promenade. Are they here? No? Okay. Well, we'll move on.
Do we
Go
want to
ahead.
skip around, Christina? Or?
That's
Whoever's
fine.
here,
I mean,
we're
this
easy.
This is definitely one I want to get the direction from the board. And
Should we talk
can
about
wait.
it?
We can wait till the end of the evening. But
Oh.
if he didn't show up because of my staff report,
Oh.
I really just want a confirmation if you agree with me or not, because that also helps set policy when I talk to people. But we can do it later this evening.
So we can deal with who's here.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is 09-10, 815 Washington Street, replacement of a front door. Which I think is Denise. Is Denise? Oh, come on up.
Good timing.
I didn't even see you. Well, go ahead and state your name and your address and tell us what you want to do and if you're looking for money.
Denise McGriff, 815 Washington Street, and as you can see from my application, I am proposing to complement and match the doors in my home. There are 3 doors, one on the back and 2 on the front, and I always get asked, do you live in a duplex? No. There is a door that enters the hallway, and there is a door that enters the formal living room, parlor, whatever you'd like to call it. And sometime in the late 40s, my previous property owner, Winifred Preston, decided that she wanted to make the house into a colonial house. And not only did she replace that door, but she replaced many other things in the house. And some of you know the story about when I moved in, the first thing I did was rip off I didn't rip, but we took off the lovely green shutters and removed the colonial light post that was in the front yard and took off the colonial porch fixtures. And then we started in on the inside. Those were the most obvious ones. But I don't know any more about it than that. I had the chance to basically interview Winifred twice over the phone before she passed away in 1993. And she did send me some interesting pictures of things she had done to the house, but none of that door. So my evidence is based on the fact that one year I was very fortunate to have the American Vernacular Society come to Oregon City, and Don Peeting, who's a former class instructor of mine at the U of O, wanted to come to my house. So while he was there and all of his colleagues were measuring and doing all this and that, I asked him to collaborate my story about the front door, and he says, oh yes, that's not a replacement. For one thing, that door, as I said in my report, is made out of mahogany. There is not one piece of mahogany in that house. Everything in that house is fir except that door. So that's been one of my goals over the time that we've worked on the house and had the house, is to replace that front door. And as you can see from the bids, it's not cheap. It has to be custom made because it's an odd size. And then there's the beveled glass, which I would like in the windows because that's what the other door has. So that is my request.
I had a question for you, Christina, on your recommendations of approval. Number 1 states that the applicant shall apply for and receive local designation.
I apologize. That's
I already have one.
I thought you did. I was pretty sure.
You know,
Well, you know how when you cut and paste,
I
so,
have to apologize.
yeah,
These
okay.
were written very concisely last week, so I do apologize. That is not appropriate.
Okay, and so we're also not going to request her to go get another bid?
Right, because she has 2 bids, so I apologize.
It's. I think from the information I submitted to you, it's sort of a 3-step process. First of all, the door blank has to be made.
Yeah.
Then, I'm not sure if the guy that's going to install the door is going to cut out all the pieces for the hinges and everything, and then stain it after. I have to talk to the staining guy and the door installing guy to see which one
Comes first.
who needs the thing first. So Dale is just waiting. I actually did about 3 years ago talk to Versatile Sash, and as I recall from about 10 years ago, their price 10 years ago was just about the same as what this price is.
There's a lot to it.
There is. There's more
Just
to
for a
it
door.
than I thought.
Yeah.
It would make a huge impact on your home.
I think it would add lots of continuity.
Well, those of you that have been to my house know that I got frustrated with the door being white, so one day in a fit of craziness, I went to the paint store and I painted it kind of a, I don't know what you call that color, but it's kind of a bluish green, just because I was really tired of the white. So I plan to reuse all the hardware on the door, the hinges and the door
And the
latches.
Doorknob and everything.
Yes, and the doorknob. They're actually more period than the rest of the door.
Yeah.
Is it a center bell, too?
But I'll get a more appropriate bell.
Okay.
The bell was given to us as a housewarming gift, and it's really more of a, I would say, a Victorian bell. So Rejuvenation now has a new bell that's more of a bungalow craftsman bell, which I plan to put in. The kids at Halloween seem to like it.
Is there any other questions? Anybody have any issues or concerns? Or
No.
I think Pearl
I don't
and
think so.
Harry B. Cartledge would be pleased because the original door was there at one time. So
And is this something you're getting on? I guess it doesn't matter. Is there? Get on it. Get on it. No, I think we're fine. I think we can say yay.
Yay.
Yay. That sounds great. Thank you.
thank you.
So, going into the non-competitive window section for preservation grants, 0905, 1602 17th Street. Come on down. Window repair.
That's right. My name is Lisa Annand. I live at 1602 17th.
And our goal is just to be a bit warmer in our home, but retain the old fir windows, the original fir windows that we've got. And I got bids a couple different ways. One would be to do wood-framed storm windows. I got 2 bids to do that. And then I also got a bid from Chosen Window Company out in Canby to do window conversions, which I think you all are probably familiar with. I've got a brochure from them if you're not, but basically just taking out the original glass windows and installing two conversion windows. So it would be insulated. That I would also do weather stripping and get the windows functioning better than they currently do. Both are appealing to me. Obviously, with the conversion, we wouldn't have to deal with taking on and off storm windows, storing them, and that kind of thing, which makes the conversion a bit more appealing. There is a case, though. There's photos of the living room windows, which are the multi-paned, those ones. And they're unable to do the conversion in that. They wanted to do something they call a slip. And in that case, it does involve using aluminum, a piece of aluminum apparently to hold. So I'm thinking those 2 windows, we would probably go the storm window route for those 2.
Yeah.
Depending on what you all think, I guess. But that's my thing.
Can I see your brochure? Is that all
You
right?
sure can. This sort of is a diagram of the slip versus the conversion.
This is what I was thinking.
Would also be doing the TDL.
You can't do that when you've got the reveal on the true divided light. This is what I was thinking on the, but you can't really do that on the true divided light.
Yeah, unless you do something around the place that would do.
Slip.
If they did the conversion on these double casements, would they use the same frame and just put new glass in?
Exactly.
And
I
then
don't
the
think you can
slips
do it.
are removable so you can clean the glass? Or would they stay in there all the time?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think you made a staff note that the conversions on these windows would not work.
Well, right, you can't do conversion on multi-light windows.
So
It's-
she would have to get all new windows, right?
No, I mean, for the
No, she's
3
proposing
divided
to-
light,
No,
storm
please.
windows is the only option.
Yeah, you can't do it on true divided
Wasn't it
light.
this one you were talking about?
Any of the divided light ones, you'd have to
I
do
have
storm
those
windows.
for these.
Right, but Christina
Right.
in her notes.
Yeah,
talking
for those.
about
And
Are
it-
those,
non-conversion.
how far off the floor are those windows? The true divided light?
Off the floor,
Yeah.
interior.
Yeah.
Probably 2.5 feet.
They almost look like French doors.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do.
they were first, too.
And those windows are actually the
high.
worst in the house. I mean, the way the house is settled.
They're very
and-
prominent.
Probably drafty.
They're probably
very
very
drafty.
drafty.
They're very
'Cause they're only
drafty.
single pane, right?
Right. Yeah, my
Yeah, but-
husband's from West Virginia, and he does what he calls his West Virginia storm window, which is just clear plastic, over that every
The
year.
apartment look. We have a great house. It's just kind of hidden. I had to find
It's
it.
very hidden,
Yeah.
which is what we like about it.
Yeah, wow.
I think the idea of going with the storm windows there.
Right, I
And
think so
placement
too.
everywhere, I think that's very appropriate.
Okay.
It's pretty much in keeping what we're thinking. Yeah, absolutely. Where's the money? The money. So we don't know what you're asking for. Mine's empty.
Well, I guess I have never really asked Christine the question.
Sky's the limit.
I realize the storm windows, the grant would be 25%, cover 25%, but I don't
It's,
know the conversion. I'm not sure what
going
Right,
with
the
each
conversion would
member.
be the 50% up to the first 2,000 and 25% till you get to 3,000
Well,
max.
you can easily get
So both of
3,000.
them are 3,000 max.
Easily.
So
Either way, you can get
I mean,
three.
the board could approve both options, and I could work with the applicant on I
combination?
mean, either approve storm windows for everything, or approve the conversion for only the 1/1s and storm on the 3
And storm
divided
on the
light.
other,
And I
yeah.
can work with the applicant on which option she wants to go down.
But can't we do a combination?
Right.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
just saying
approve,
yes.
basically approve both paths, which is
Defer to you and let-
no
yes.
conversion on the divided light. Is any other options of combinations
Yeah.
of?
So I mean, we could all say yay and groovy and give her the money, but that's what
Yeah.
we want to have
Right,
happen.
but if it's storm windows, 25%, up to 3,000 total, and then the conversions will be 50% for the first 2,000. So I could just work with the applicant on
Either way,
basically
she's
what
going to
she
get
proposed. We can do the math to figure out
max
what.
out the 3,000. So I think if we're all good with that, that's good.
I think so.
Yeah. So that's it.
All right, thank you very
Beauty.
much.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Next item, 09-07, 610 High Street window repair.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Brent Brelge, and my building is at 610 High Street, and I'm looking to repair, preserve, I think it's a total of 13 windows on my building. We've had a lot of settling in the building, or, it's just old, the windows don't fit, there's air gaps, I have lots of leaks on the third floor, especially the south side, water leaks as well as just air leaks, so that's what I'm asking for. We did have two guys come out, Jeffrey Franz and Chosen. Chosen, because there were so many different windows, and some of them were original and some of them were new, it was a hodgepodge. It was very difficult to compare the bids. So Chosen was reconditioning some, replacing some. Jeffrey Franz we felt was a better approach also, because he would deal with every aspect of the window and preserve. He takes them out and dips them, brings them back, and every facet of the window has been preserved. So we felt a little bit more secure that work would last a long time. So that's what we're proposing to go forward with.
We have a lot of original glass in there, which I think he's going to preserve, which
Yeah.
is desirable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems a little bit more thorough.
Yeah, his bid was very thorough, I thought.
What he's going to do. So you're asking for $24.75.
Yep.
I would also like to recommend that we utilize Brent's presentation here.
I know it's
It's
a
really
sample.
nice.
I
It's
agree.
Very
It's really
concise,
nice.
and it's a
And it
great
was-
example of
And it
how
was done all electronically, which was great for
Granted.
me.
Even the little dots.
Pretty
with
cool,
the
huh?
numbers. Yeah. Well, it makes it easier to see what you're talking about.
I don't.
Which
The only
windows?
hard thing is, I tried to show pictorially. How do you guys understand what the damage is? Or it's really hard to get that across in a picture.
Well, photos help, but then description on top of the photo,
Yeah.
with the photos, maybe like when you're talking about it, you can put it underneath the photo.
Yeah.
this is a great template.
Yeah, but it's great, yeah, it's a great
Thank you.
model.
Yeah. No, the inside pictures. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, it was hard to get the outside pictures of the third floor.
Yeah, at least the ones. Well, it's good to
So
see
are
the
you
ones
going
in
back
question.
Are
Yeah.
you going back to rope stashes? Are you?
Yeah, he's gonna. That was the other
Brilliant
thing
windows on
that
both
Chosen.
sides, yeah.
It sounds like it's a better unit. Chosen actually has hidden sliders that they put in.
Yes.
That probably work better, but Jeffrey's going to go back and do it all with a cotton rope.
The real deal.
Yeah.
Plus, on your third floor up there, double hungs.
Yeah, we don't
Did
use
you
any
lose
double
that?
hungs up there, so they're all casements that
Did you-
operate on the third floor.
Oh, okay.
The ones that we're working on.
Second floor.
The second floor is almost all double
But
hung.
those would be helpful to have that upper section to be.
Yes. Yeah,
Functional.
to actually have them work.
So the third floor, that's all finished office space.
Yep.
And-
Yep. It's a pediatric therapy clinic, and the
Are
time.
those windows operable? Can they open?
Yeah, actually, I'm trying to.
But they'll open better soon.
The casement windows, there's one that's fixed, and of the 4 on the third floor that we're asking for, 3 out of the 4 work. Also, the big round window in the front actually works great. The whole thing just swings in. Works really well. And there is an egress window on the back.
Okay. It's kind
I would
of a
support
no-brainer. Yeah. Anybody have an issue?
I like it.
Yeah, it's a great
Grant's all
building.
about.
It's a really great building.
Thanks. We like it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, I think you're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let you know how the Blazers are doing.
Oh, actually, just let you know, it's 29-26 Blazers up, but they were up by 10 at one point. So I think we're seeing Game 3 and Game 2 all over again.
What quarter?
End of the first.
Oh, end of the first.
Yeah.
Just putting off their death.
Before the crowd started. I forgot about that.
I want to apologize. I thought we were going to be a little bit longer time,
no.
and so I sent Atkinson out. So they'll be back by 8
I
o'clock.
think somebody's coming in.
Oh, okay. So I want to applaud your quickness on this. Thank you.
Remotely.
I know.
Sir, are you here for?
I'm here about appointment for a grant for storm windows for the Atkinson Church.
Oh,
Yes, you're just
good
in
timing.
time.
Come on down. Come sit and yeah,
Is your,
come sit and state your name and.
is,
Waiting for-
you're actually,
Or
I think you're
is
the,
there somebody else?
My partner, we
Oh, I'm
should
sorry.
be here in a couple of minutes, and she's the one that actually
Yeah.
filed the grant, but I can give you information.
Yeah, go ahead. Do a song and dance, or you bet. Please do.
So my name is Michael Steins. I am the co-chair of the Facilities Committee for our church. And we have applied for a grant. Actually, before we ever found out about that grants might be available, we got a bid on putting storm windows on our ground level windows of the church. And I believe that you have pictures of those windows with the grant application. And one reason we wanted to put storm windows on were for heat conservation, because she's an old lady and she leaks heat badly. And another one is, just last month we had, I assume it's kids, threw some rocks with some of our leaded windows on the ground floor. And those things are really expensive to repair. Luckily, the upper windows already have windows on them, so storm windows, so they are already protected.
So you'd be leaving these on all the time then?
Yes.
So, Windows 4 through 8 are ground level. These are ground level.
I think they're all ground
All of
level.
them.
There's a total of 17, I believe.
Covered up. So, I mean, I'm just curious with these ground level ones, how many times have they broken?
I have been
broken.
going to this church for about 13 years, and this is the first time we've had a problem with this.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. I picked up all the rocks out. I assume it's kids. I don't know who else would do something like that. And these are stained or leaded windows that are little tiny squares, like they don't have a pattern in them except for
Yeah.
bars. But still, they're spendy to replace.
Storm windows would certainly help.
Oh, permanent ones.
How about some metal grates? Alrighty. And that bid was 10, or what was it? Oh, 13,394.
I have a separate staff comment when you have a moment.
Okay.
The Metro Enhancement Grant funding for this
Oh, yeah,
program
yeah.
finishes up on June 30th, and
Get more money.
there was a little bit miscommunication, I think, on my end and Michelle Benville's end. I initially was understanding that we had to dedicate that money by June 30th, but actually we have to pay that out by the city for all of our existing applications that we've already so far approved. And I've only paid out a couple of them so far, and so my worry is I'm sending a letter out to all of our existing applications that have been approved but have not submitted formal requests for payment yet. I would hate to have to send any Metro Enhancement Grant money back.
How much is there?
We have 10,000 from Metro. We've allotted already 10,000 this year from our program, but I just worry that we may only maybe have 7,000 that are formally paid back by June 30th. So I'm thinking we might have somewhere between 3,000 and then zero that we potentially would have to give back to Metro Enhancement. And I think this is a very of all the applications I've seen, I think they have a very valid citywide need, and also their windows are not only significant to the building and the organization, but they're significant to Oregon City. So my recommendation as staff is if there is any money left over
That it goes to this.
that it goes to this. And I need to work with the church because they also need to finish that by June 30th to even see if that's available
the
for
actual
them.
project has to be completed
or
to get that
portions
money.
of the project.
Or would it have to
Right.
be at least in process?
It would have to be completed. So,
When I got a bid for this, I called up about 6 different glass companies, and I believe that the requirement are for wooden framed storm windows. Nobody makes those anymore except Truax. And that's the reason why I only got one bid for them. And when I asked them for the bid, I asked them if they could break it down according to the site, because I didn't know if we could
Swing it.
pay for all of it
Yeah.
at the same time. And we would concentrate on these windows that have been broken by rocks that face the street first. And
What is the turnaround? I mean, if you said to them, go, what's the turnaround for them producing?
well, I know we can get it done by June 30th.
Yeah.
So,
And I'd have to talk to them to find out how many windows we could actually pay for
Yeah.
and which ones we'd want them to put up first.
so this 37 number, is that all the windows you need, or is that the ones you?
That's
Just-
every ground window, all of them.
Okay.
And that was, I quite honestly thought it was a pretty incredible bid.
Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
price.
Yeah, they're looking for blessings elsewhere. For sure.
I had a question for you, and should have asked this
Yeah.
before Brent left. Is this eligible for urban renewal money? And is their property on High Street also eligible for urban renewal?
let me take a look. I know they applied for Metro Enhancement and didn't get the funding, or OCCIT, yeah. They didn't get the funding. I think the urban renewal boundary just goes to the Carnegie, but I can go online and check. And then Brent, I believe his property could potentially get urban renewal because it goes on to,
Can they receive both funds?
I don't believe either funding program has policies that limit one or the other.
Restrictions. I would be fine with that if they could do this to get the additional monies because of the size of it and, yeah, the impact.
Yeah, it'll be some creative understanding of what I'm getting back from the already obligated funds, and then working with them to understand, because they also have a June 30th deadline. So it just might be some creative.
Is it something that we need to be involved in, or can that be done
No, I mean,
with you?
you
and
can
on your level?
kind of basically give me direction that any remaining money that's not dedicated by June 30th.
Can go to this.
Well, not dedicated, that's not been utilized
Yeah.
by existing, because our grant funding comes in 3 different pots, and so they come at actually 3 different times of the year. So in a sense, this is almost a year-round grant program, but the money is dedicated at different times. So
I would
like,
say that's fine, though. I think by then, if they can make it work, the money should go to them. But if that sounds reasonable to everybody else,
It does.
then take it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in. The next item would be the McLaughlin Promenade project presentation. I don't-
actually, if we could go back to that preservation grant that I don't think.
The storm?
Yeah, the storm.
Should we talk about that? Can we do that now?
It's up to you, but.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do that. Okay, so I think it's basically because the way I'm looking at this one with the storm door, my interpretation, you guys can throw in your 2 cents. It's almost like they get approval for storm windows, right? Somebody breaks one of the windows, they want to come in and get money to fix the window. I don't see the rationale behind that. Same thing with the door, it broke. That's something I don't think in this respect, and this is one side of it, okay, that they should come in for money for a repair that whether it happened in any situation. I look at it just like a bat hitting a storm window, a historic window. I don't know. That's my 2
Well, my
cents.
feeling was that it didn't fit into any of the categories. You know, it wasn't preservation, because it didn't have existing historical materials, and it wasn't rehabilitation because they didn't need to alter anything, and it wasn't restoration because it wasn't an original thing to restore, and it's not reconstruction because it's not. It wasn't a non-surviving portion of it. It was never there. I don't think it ever had a screen.
Something broke, and I just don't see awarding that money to something that broke.
Criteria for me.
No, I think that makes sense.
I think it needs to be established.
Well, that's good because, I mean, I think for this is a specific situation, but if someone wanted to come in for a new, they had, let's say, a aluminum screen door, I'm just playing what ifs,
Right.
and they wanted to put a new wood screen door, we have never really talked about how we view that in regards to this grant program.
Well, it's the same thing as an aluminum window, and they want to put in a wood storm window
Yeah.
or aluminum siding.
But or they have no screen door and they want to put a wood screen door. I guess where do you see screen doors in this grant program?
I think it's. I think with regards to the monies that are spent, I think if it was a wood screen door that was in bad disrepair, falling apart, and they wanted to replace it just like a falling apart window, that's one thing.
Original Victorian
And it was
door.
original to it, and it had all the scroll and the scroll in it, and they wanted to restore it and fix it, that's one thing. But to have one that they paid for that's broken,
Right. But if I
But-
would say I'm a designated house,
I think
that
screen
has
doors are
never had a
applicable
screen
if it
door.
was there.
But if it wasn't there, and I just want a screen door.
What about a storm door?
I don't think so.
What about a storm door? We're talking about storm windows. What about a storm door? To keep your house warm.
Yeah, I don't see
They're
either.
not.
Yeah, it's like what Todd said, if there's a Victorian home.
Right.
It's clear glass.
Nah.
But see, I think most, I mean, a storm door is usually, I think most people want screen doors for the ability to keep open their
That's
door
more
and have
historic.
air.
Yeah.
And it's more, I mean, to me, that's in that gray area, but
Yeah.
if this is not, that's not the purpose of the grant. If this was a competitive grant, we didn't have a slew of people wanting to do siding repair and porch repair this spring. So in normal years with, maybe a better economy, there'll just be enough money that even if it was competitive, this would never rise to the level, but we have the money this year, so we have to do the analysis.
It's also, I wonder for the city's administrative purposes and timing, the board's time, if there shouldn't be maybe a minimum valuation on the grants.
That's not a bad idea.
That might weed out some of these. I mean, this is
Smart.
a $100 grant that they're
Right.
asking for.
Oh, you need a minimum as far as low.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
$500 or $700. I don't know.
And one of the things I'd like to do this summer is basically have a work session where we go through the grant program. We have a 1-year audit. We look at it, what worked, what didn't, what do you like about the application, what don't you like about the application, and kind of one of our July or August work sessions, just kind of go through a kind of a 1-year audit on it. Because I think it definitely, we took Forest Grove's grant program, kind of replicated it, and there's going to be tweaks and changes that are Oregon City specific, or just wise. And I think these are all good questions. And we still have non-competitive grant money left, and I'm telling people to keep coming in as the months go on until the 40% of the obligated money is utilized.
I have mixed feelings about the minimum amount.
There's pros and cons.
There's pros and cons, and I can see it, especially since it probably takes so much staff time to go over a grant for $100. It probably doesn't
And
merit
to
it.
administer it. And
Correct. But on the other hand, if somebody has a preservation spirit, I don't want to quell that. And I know Dave LaRue in particular, his house is wonderful. He does a lot of work on it, and people who have the spirit, I hate to. Although I agree with you in this situation that this isn't appropriate.
It could also be something where we say, and this is just throwing this out, that maybe there's a minimum that would be required to come before the board. And maybe if there's something like this, it wouldn't have to be brought up, that you would deal with it. I don't know, maybe that's wrong.
Christine wants to do that.
No, I mean, I really, I'm really torn about the wood storm door is, is it, it's aiding to the historic significance, but it's not restoration, it's not preservation, it's none of those. I mean, it looks nice and
But yeah, it doesn't fit this
but
criteria.
I have
Yeah.
trouble.
And this is sort of besides the point, but the lawyer on me read this, and said, well, it was a design flaw, and he wants money to fix something, and the guy wants another $200 for something that he shouldn't have done in the first place, so
Yeah.
That's an
I'd have
attorney.
a conversation with the, with the
Well, that's just a
contractor.
shark swimming around in front of the judge's desk. That's all.
So, I mean, nothing has to be decided tonight for storm doors, but it.
I think in this case we can say no.
this one, yeah.
Okay. So we've got that covered.
Yeah. And,
So number 8, what's the dealio with that?
sorry.
McLaughlin Promenade, the
Yes.
project. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, if I could do a presentation.
Yeah, yeah.
And just let you
I didn't know
know,
if that was you or
Blazers are
someone
still
else.
up 39-34. Okay.
Okay.
Just to give a little background on the promenade and why we are here this evening on this project, let me get to my staff report. The City of Oregon City applied for federal funding a couple of years ago through the ICE-T program. That's federal funding that goes through Metro and the transportation system plan. And we were denied, we weren't granted, but we were kept on the list kind of for the next round of funding. And when the stimulus package came through, we were kind of, the promenade repair project was kind of number one on the list. And we were contacted by ODOT late January and said, would you be interested in applying for phase 1 stimulus funding? We said, yes, because it's paying about 80% of the project. The problem with the phase 1 of the stimulus funding is, and as we found out later, every project in the state of Oregon except for us is pavement repair, because that's really easy to apply for. And luckily, the promenade project, most of it was, we had a lot of information already done. We still had to go through a big process last 2 months to get all of our checkbox checked off for the federal funding. So Lita Froman Goodrich and Laura Butler and I was helping a bit on planning staff and historic level to get the final letters that were needed that we just didn't get the last round because we hadn't gotten assigned funding for. We found out, I think 2 weeks ago, that we are on task. We will find out on June 30th if we get the funding. We're set for funding unless something goes astray. This is a restoration project, and initially when I heard about this project a couple of years ago, and also again in January, I went back to our code of 1740 historic overlay that looked at what major public improvement was. And the code specifically says, and I'll read it, major public improvement means the expenditure of public funds or the grant of permission by a public body to undertake change in the physical character of lands or the making of public improvements within a district, except for repair or maintenance of public or private improvements within a district. And I really saw this as a repair and maintenance. We received approval from the State Historic Preservation Office of a finding of no adverse effect of the project by Dr. Poyser in March. And with that finding, that really kind of, to me, triggered that it was repair and maintenance. Once the project gets funding approval from ODOT in late June, Lita Froman Goodrich and her team will be coming to the Historic Review Board to make more of a formal presentation of the process. At 2 weeks ago, City Commission meeting, Commissioner Nacita questioned if this project did not fit under the major public improvement requiring a land use approval. And I was not at the meeting that night and was not able to directly respond to that. And the City Commission, along with Nancy Kreschauer and Larry Patterson, requested that I present this information to the Historic Review Board tonight and then forward on your comments to the City Commission at their second May Commission meeting, which I believe is May 20th. At this time, I still see it as maintenance repair, so it doesn't require a land use review. though I do plan on keeping the Historic Review Board in on the process. What I've attached to your staff report is the project, kind of the ESSE analysis, which is the big yes, no, U section for the ODOT application. The June 6, 2006 letter from Sarah Jalvine acknowledging that the property is eligible for listing on the National Register. The February 5th letter from Dr. Poyser commenting that he finds no adverse effect. And this is the official Section 106 finding. And a lot like the jug handle presentation you received at the beginning of the meeting, all projects that receive federal funding require Section 106 review, which is review and compliance by the State Historic Preservation Office. And all projects are required to gain this letter in order to move forward. If they do not gain a Section 106 finding of no effect, and they have an effect, then they kind of go through a separate process in the Section 106 tree of looking at mitigation, looking at public involvement, avoidance, all that. And so with the finding of no effect, the State Historic Preservation Office kind of does not see this as, I mean, I'm implying, but I mean, I think in my conversations with Dr. Poyser, he saw this as a restoration project. And one thing Vicki did bring up to me before the meeting, and it's an interesting question, and I don't know, and I was making links that I don't know if the group was, but when I see maintenance and repair, and I see a project's going through restoration, the way I looked at it, I saw restoration was maintenance and repair. And if you think that restoration is different than maintenance and repair, please give me your input, because in future projects, I definitely want to we'll see it through a different lens. Because in this situation, I didn't see that it needed a land use hearing. So at this level in the process, where we haven't gotten bidding yet and funding from ODOT, I didn't see that it needed to go to a formal HR review process, and was planning on making the presentation this summer. So I would like to get your feedback and with future projects.
The drawings are hard to read at this scale, but what I saw was a lot of wholesale replacement of historic fabric, and to me that's not maintenance and repair. That was disconcerting to me.
Well, I think maintenance and repair can go hand in hand with restoration if they replicate what was there before.
Or if you're preserving the historic fabric
Exactly.
that you can.
Exactly.
But the question is, how do you know that they're going to replace exactly what was there before? I don't feel like
That's
we
the
have
rub
enough
right there.
information here, photos or samples of things to feel confident that when they replace those rails, we're going to get what we have already. And that's my concern.
Right. And I can tell you that is the purpose. I mean, that's the intent. And if I need to give you more information to get you that, but I mean, this was the intent, was a pure, I mean, the promenade, you have steel members which are failing, and those will need to be replaced. And then you have concrete sections that are repairing, and then you have the repointing of the basalt walls, and they'll be taking out, the basalt rocks of the members and numbering them, and then basically not just repointing, but remortaring the whole post, but with the rocks in the same order as they were
I see that
taken
was
down.
a clearing.
Yeah, that's number
And
4.
if I need to give you more information, I can. But this is truly this is very much a restoration project to the point where it's pretty.
It looked like they were proposing to replace, the way I was reading it, maybe I'm wrong, 70 of the steps with new concrete. That's a huge, expansive new concrete.
Yeah, and some of the steps are to the point where they cannot be kept in their original state, and that's some of the problem with the concrete. And this is where my contractor knowledge leaves with my preservation knowledge. And if you want, I can bring Alita Furman Goodrich back to another Historic Review Board meeting, but I can tell you that through my working with the Public Works staff this last 2 months to get this federal funding, we've been going through more historic analysis than I've seen in a long time with ODOT on this being a restoration project.
I guess if I would defer to SHPO. I mean, they're kind of like the golden thing, but I was just saying to Todd, it's the same thing as the Oregon City Bridge. You're going to shut that thing down for 2 years and do maintenance and repair. That's a historic structure, but yet we're not talking about that. I don't know if I don't know if that's, I'm out of whack with that, but
They did a good job of it. They restored it really well.
the Oregon City Bridge? No, they're going to shut it down this
Oh,
fall.
I'm talking about the other bridge that's going on 99E. Didn't they, that one that goes over the Clackamas, didn't they do
Oh,
some
the
work?
Blackstone Bridge?
Yeah, the Gladstone Bridge.
Oh.
Yeah, that one got repaired about 5 years ago.
Yeah, and they did a great job. And
Yeah.
our public works guys.
And I can send you all these.
Oh, it was?
That's all that.
I can send these as PDFs that you can expand and read if you want to take
Yeah,
more
I-
additional.
I guess I was just
They're not
confused
gonna
by
whack
Dr.
it.
Poiser's letter, too,
Yeah,
because he
I-
says, no historic structures are impacted. I mean, this is a historic
Exactly.
structure.
This letter, both the letters, they're exactly the same. And what materials did they review? They said, we reviewed the materials submitted on the project referenced above. What did they get? What
They
looked
got
at?
the initial project perspective, and that was what I was having trouble getting from Public Works to get back.
Okay.
Because he says he will assist you with your 106, but it seemed like maybe it was a very preliminary letter, and he didn't review all the documents, and that was my concern.
Yeah, mine too. And then it says, we concur that it's eligible for the National Register of Historic
It's a
Places.
shovel-ready,
But that
want the
doesn't,
money.
there's a disconnect there. It
That-
doesn't really
that's
tie
the-
into what
that's
the
the-
project is.
The eligible for listing is the first stage of the Section 106 process, and the second stage of the 106 process is the finding of effect.
Which is pretty extensive and involved. Well, I know they're not going to put vinyl siding on it.
No, we're going to put aluminum siding.
Adaptively reuse some aluminum siding. They're going to restore it back to the way it is. They're probably going to clean it up. I don't think they're going to do a. But yeah, I guess I don't know how much oversight's really needed to be
Yeah,
there.
I don't want to see wholesale replacement of historic fabric that can be preserved.
Yeah.
Some things, from what you're saying, is
Sure.
structurally they've got to
Some of the railings.
Yeah,
fix.
Todd, to give you an insight, I know the project team, Wallace Engineering and a leader from Goodrich and Laura Butler went out and they basically looked at, and ODOT staff was with them, and they basically looked at every single piling and every single step, and they looked at, can this be replaced? And their analysis was very in depth about, can this be kept? Can this not be kept? And the big thing with we can't go through archaeological review for this project because of the stimulus funding. So we aren't. If we're doing anything to like a concrete square, I mean, we're picking it up and we're putting it back in. I mean, we're not touching anything underground. It's all above ground work because we can't go down that path.
Well, looking at the list of what the basic facts and what the proposed improvements are, I agree that a lot of it is repair. One, the repointing, with your explanation of 4, that rebuilding the displaced walls, they're going to
Yeah.
take those stones out. 5, grouting, 6, repointing, 7, well, 7 I'm not sure about, and 8, recoding is probably, they're all probably repairs. The ones I'm concerned about mostly, perhaps 7, but mostly 2 and 3. And I'm wondering if at some point, if they would come back to us with examples of what they intend to do, so we could just look at particular aspects of it.
Yeah, they definitely can. What I'd like from the board tonight is, I feel bad if I've sent this project in a different direction, but based on my analysis, I just didn't think it needed a historic review application.
Actually,
And-
no. I mean, with your analysis and findings, the way it reads, no.
Yeah, and because we hadn't gotten funded yet from ODOT, I didn't want to. And we were just getting the final drawings. Wasn't really ready to bring this back to the board yet. The reason this all was brought up is the city commission needed to make a vote at the last meeting to commit to their share of the project, and it's not specifically 80%, but they're 15 to 20% of the project, and so there was a question if this had come to the board yet, and the answer that was given that evening was, well, Christina's not here, but that this was a repair and maintenance project and didn't require formal historic review, but I always intended to bring the project back to the board, just not at this time in the process.
And that's fine for review and stuff, but I don't know that we have any, I don't know. I mean, when it says it does not intend.
Influence do we have?
Well, if it's a project, it's not, what you're saying, it does not intend to undertake a physical change in the character of the promenade.
But it is a major public works project.
Yeah, they're looking for a lot of dough. So I don't know where you step over the line and say, hey, we want to be involved and we want to have a say in this, or do we defer to what SHPO said? So I don't know. Maybe it's something we need to talk about more.
Of enforcing the definition of repair and maintenance.
And is that our place to enforce that, or is that SHPO's?
No, I mean, our definition is in 1740, which is what is repair and maintenance, and repair and maintenance is not a major public improvement. And so, this is, as I think what Todd is saying, is taking repair and maintenance to a level we're not used to. I think we're used to
Or what we've
repair and
seen.
maintenance, which is repair and maintenance of sidewalks, repair and maintenance of utility features.
The repair and maintenance of a major historic entity.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just doing replacement of one column or
Sure.
or one section of railing, that's maintenance.
But they're repointing and replacing.
This is looking like a multi-million-dollar project.
Oh, yeah, this is a $1
Well,
million
stimulus
project.
money.
And although it's not the law, looking in our book under the Historic Review Board frequently asked questions, it's informal, that helps give people an idea of what is maintenance and what is changes. The question says, what's the difference between maintenance and changes, not repair and restoration, but it says, ordinary maintenance and minor repairs involving identical materials and design do not require an application. However, repairs that will, among other things, repairs that are extensive enough to require a building permit must be approved before work begins. And I think that this falls in that category.
This would not require a building permit.
It's not a building permit.
Well-
Unless they have to deal with stairs and then
Yeah.
there's issues with
Well,
that.
Stairs are not compliant. If you've ever walked
You've
up
got to
and down
match
the-
them,
Right.
that's the thing. So I don't think this
I think-
requires a permit.
For Vicki, that repair and maintenance was actually taken from another jurisdiction as a way of helping property owners to get them to come
I
in.
understand. My
So,
mistake.
yeah.
I thought when we talked earlier, that you indicated that they would need a building permit of some sort.
Oh, I think I don't want
Throws you
to. I
off.
never want to say nothing doesn't
Yes.
need a building permit because I'm not the building division.
Okay,
They very well may.
okay.
They may. I mean, there may be large sections that don't. One section may.
Well, we'll
I'm
just-
not the building department, so I'd never like to say that doesn't.
Well, I guess we need to just get some more information.
And I think, is the section 106 been complete and accepted?
Yeah, Section 106 is accepted.
There you go. 90% of the battle. It's a lot of work. Okay, that sounds fine, I guess.
I don't think we need a motion on this.
No, we just need to get
Hopefully
some more
we've given
information.
Christina some direction, though.
Direction on it, where we're at. Maybe
We'd like
have
to
we?
see it, I guess.
I guess be in the loop.
Right.
Just let us follow it, as you get the information, you can pass it on to us.
Oh, I definitely want to do that. I think my direction tonight is to respond back to the request from the City Commission on two parts. One, do you believe that this required a land use approval? And two, how do you want to be involved
No.
in the future?
No land use
Doesn't.
approval.
No.
Okay.
No,
land use.
and just to be in the loop.
Okay.
Just so we know that
Yeah.
the materials that they're using are
Yeah.
compatible with
And
what's already there.
I do know that once Ms. Froman Goodrich kind of gets her breath from this amazing stimulus process, the fact that we are the only city that is applying for a non-pavement project is kind of illustrating how giant this hurdle has been to get this money. But she plans on making a presentation probably with either late June, our June meeting or our July meeting.
Okay, good enough. Well, so we're having a work session now?
Yeah, and then we can turn it off.
Can we turn these off, or do we?
Actually, you know what? We're not going live, so yeah. Well, we don't have to tape for work sessions.
Is
Yeah, you can adjourn.
this because we're behind on things, or is this in lieu of a?
No, there's some updating I need to get on the Preservation Month activities from the board. So my recommendation is to adjourn the meeting
Okay.
and to just finish up with the small work session agenda
Okay.
items.
Well, then we're done. Should we shut off?
We're adjourned.
We are adjourned.